All right, we are finally here. We are at the last big E3 2017, not conference. I think it was called the Nintendo Spotlight. We're pretty much done. All right, so this was definitely the shortest conference Spotlight E3 thing that we have had so far out of the big developers and publishers out there, and out of the big three, Microsoft and Sony, Nintendo. Definitely the shortest one. It wasn't even 25 minutes. I think it was 4 seconds short of being 25 minutes long. So, anyway, though, let's start this off with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which I need to beat Xenoblade Chronicles 1 first. But I did get really excited when they first announced this last year, I believe it was, or when they announced the Switch. And the new trailer looked nice, but I wasn't super enthused about it. It did look good. It looked like it would be fun, but I wasn't like just like going crazy about it like I originally did for Xenoblade Chronicles, even Xenoblade Chronicles X or Xenoblade X. I was more excited for those games than Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I still probably will pick it up. Don't know if I'm going to pick it up day one though. Which is coming out this year though, 2017. No official date, but 2017 holiday. Then they showed a new Kirby game, which did look pretty fun, and it did look like you can play multiplayer as well. I mean, you can only do so much with a side-scrolling Kirby game. They all kind of looked like the same for the last few years, definitely. But new Kirby, can't argue with that. They showed a little bit of Pokken Tournament DX. Still not super enthused about that game. I really wish that they would have had Super Smash Bros. At this E3. Hopefully that's still coming at some point. Probably not this year, 2017 though. I feel that it could be a 2018, maybe spring release, possibly. But yeah, no Super Smash Brothers. Instead, we get Pokken Tournament, which still I do want to pick up because I didn't pick it up for the Wii U, but just not day one, definitely. And then a pretty big announcement, but they didn't show anything, and they had two things like back to back. They talked about that Game Freak, the guys that make the Pokemon games, are working on a core Pokemon game for the Nintendo Switch. I think we kind of all assumed that this is what was going to happen because the 3DS is eventually going to die. Probably this year will be its probably the last big hurrah before next year, because they didn't talk about any 3DS games, and they have Hey Pikmin, and they also announced during Treehouse another 3DS game that's coming out, and I think it's like September. Which is a new Metroid, a remake of Metroid 2 that originally came out on the NES, or was that NES or Game Boy? It might have been Game Boy. But either way, Metroid 2 is being re-released on the 3DS, and it's a new remake of it. Looked really good, actually. And I was like, why didn't you announce it during this? But I mean, you went 25 minutes. You could have added it. You could have added in a few extra things. I mean, you had a Pokemon specific direct a week ago. Why couldn't you have also talked about other 3DS games? Anyway, so they had Pokemon RPG, a core game coming out for the Switch. Nice that they've actually confirmed it. We all kind of assumed this anyway, but nice that they did that. And they also announced that they are working on Metroid Prime 4. They didn't show anything other than the title, so I still think that Pokemon, the new Pokemon game, and Metroid Prime are still quite a while away. I'm thinking at earliest fall 2018, if not 2019, which I'm perfectly fine with. I'm okay with waiting that long, although they really have nothing for fall next year, so maybe we'll be getting both of those at this point because they haven't announced anything else. I do still assume Super Smash Bros. Next year too. Then they showed Yoshi, a new Yoshi game, which looked very much like Yarn Yoshi. I assume that it is Yarn Yoshi, but they didn't confirm. They just said Yoshi 2018. And it looked exactly like Yarn Yoshi. You can have two players once again playing co-op, which is cool. And Yarn Yoshi is actually quite a good game. So I probably will pick this up day one. Also because it's 2018. Fire Emblem Warriors, they showed more of that. Looks pretty much exactly what I was expecting from that game. A like Dynasty type, just massive amounts of enemies on the screen. Which the only part that sucks about that is that they're so easy to kill. Maybe there's a hard mode, and if you go hard mode, they're a lot harder to kill. But God, they're so the individuals of like the packs of them are just so bad that it's like they're not really a threat because you can just kill them all. I just wish that they were more of a threat and you really have to just constantly be killing them. That's the only gripe with it. The bosses, I always felt they were at least a challenge, more of a challenge than the hundreds of individuals. But yeah, I am looking forward to that, but I won't be picking it up day one. They showed a little bit more of Skyrim. They just showed Skyrim again. At this point, there's nothing else that they can really talk about because Bethesda had already announced that they will have amiibo options for it, where you can play as basically like Link in his Breath of the Wild suit and the Master Sword. And is it the Hylian Shield or Hylian Shield? Is it because it's Hyrule? So is it? I don't know. I know it's Hyrule. It's not Hyrule. So anyway, yeah, those are included in the game. I still want to pick this up. I don't want to pick it up day one, but it might happen. I do want to pick it up day one, but I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see how that goes. They showed more about Zelda DLC. So like basically the Master Quest or the Hero's Quest, basically the harder version for Zelda Breath of the Wild is coming with the first pack, and then the second pack is coming afterwards later on. I think the first pack is like in the summer, and then later on this year we get the second pack, and there's like different masks and suits and things like that are coming. Looks good. Not sure if I'm going to pick this up. I've gotten quite a bit out of Zelda Breath of the Wild just as it is. They showed some new amiibos. And the new DLC pack, the second pack, did kind of interest me because it has to do with the four heroes. What are they called? The four heroes. What are they called? The four heroes, the Goron, the bird, the girl that's in the desert, and the Zora girl. They're all getting their own kind of DLC pack, as in like we might be going through their adventure, which would be really awesome, I think, playing as them. I don't know if that's confirmed. They just talked that it was about those four characters, plus Zelda was shown, and they're getting their own amiibos, which is kind of cool. Then they had more of Mario Rabbids, which the more that I see it, the more I'm being okay with the idea of this game, and I might get that day one. Surprisingly, I'm not. Originally, I was just like, oh, that's a horrible idea, but I'm starting to warm up to the idea. More for the gameplay and everything else Mario and Nintendo related, not so much the Rabbids. There was one, though, that I watched like 20 times in that first trailer when they had the Mario Rabbids character and he starts singing the Mario song. I replayed that so many times. I actually laughed way too much at that, so I would probably play with him than the other. Like Peach, I don't care for, and the Luigi one, I don't care for. I'd probably have like Mario Rabbids, and Yoshi. That would be my team. Then they showed Rocket League is coming to the Switch. That's awesome. And finally, Super Mario Odyssey. They showed a lot more of the game in terms of gameplay, and that you can use the hat. It looks fantastic. I'm just so happy that we're going to we haven't had like this kind of a Mario game since Super Mario Galaxy 2, which was, I think, 2010. Like, it's been 7 years since we've had an actual Mario game, 3D platformer, which I'm so excited for. I don't really count 3D Land and 3D World because they were more so about like multiplayer, and the worlds were meant for more multiplayer than single player. You can still play them single player. Well, 3D Land I think was only single player on the 3DS, but it was only like a 5-hour game if I remember correctly, unless you went for like everything. But yeah. So excited they're going for Super Mario Odyssey in this like 64/Galaxy version, and it looks phenomenal. And okay, so yeah, the hat, you can use the hat to basically turn into any enemy or NPC that's walking around. You can just like flip the hat into them, and then you'll turn into them and go around the world. So one guy turned into a Bullet Bill. There's a T-Rex that they turned into. He did it to another human that was walking around in like the city. So that's going to be kind of cool because it just adds so many different things. Like, oh, I can't beat this level without turning into one of these guys and try, or you know, maybe you don't necessarily need to, but you can just fly around as Bullet Bill and blow up into something, and then you're there instead of having to do all the platforming. Just different ways of playing the games, which is kind of cool. Yeah, and that was pretty much it. Then they ended it, and it was like, oh, and we're done. So it kind of sucks that we didn't get anything at all. I think it would have been amazing if they would have showed a little bit, like even 20 seconds of Pokemon RPG on the Switch. I mean, that would have just made everybody go crazy. However, it might have affected their sales for Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun. So I kind of understand that on a business point as well. But I wanted to see, you know, a Pokemon game on the Switch. And Metroid Prime 4 would have been nice for a 20-second teaser, just showing Samus in a new suit or something. I think that would have been really cool. But anyway, yeah, it was new games are Kirby and Yoshi were the new things here. Rocket League obviously coming, but that's an old game. And then the announcements of Pokemon RPG and Metroid Prime 4, but nothing's shown. So it was an okay spotlight, I guess, but nothing amazing because we've seen most of this stuff, and that it's just very a lukewarm E3, unfortunately. I don't know really where I rank. I would probably say that Nintendo, unfortunately, is last behind Sony and Microsoft. Probably, but Microsoft and Sony, they both didn't do an amazing job either. They're all kind of in the same group. It was just like some good stuff that I am going to pick up, but nothing to write home about. Nothing that I'm freaking out and going like, oh my god, had they showed Pokemon, the core game on the Switch, that would have been something to go crazy about, but they just announced it, so I'm not going crazy just yet because I figured it was coming anyway. So that's pretty much it. That E3 is fully done. Might do a video on where I rank everything and just my overall thoughts on E3, but I pretty much gave it just now. But I could do maybe a ranking, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, E3 is done. What did you think about everything from E3, specifically if we want to talk about Nintendo in this video? You've been all bearded in. Thanks for watching.
Beardage.